Okay, now that we activated through our core and through our glutes, now we're gonna, our first exercise for our lower body is going to be a normal conventional deadlift. The muscles involved in this workout is through our calves, hamstrings, glutes, also back because we're pulling from the ground. Exercise is great, okay? Now, what we don't want to do with the conventional deadlift, which I see a lot of people do incorrect, is they're not activating through their back enough, nor they're turning through the floor, and nor they're not activated through their core, so they don't have a neutral spine. I will demonstrate, right? So what people do incorrect, I'm gonna show the incorrect form first, is when they come up, they're really like that. Either hyperextending through the hips, okay? Or they're lifting the bar like this, like that, kills. Or they're just like, yeah, so their core is not activated. See, I'm just struggling through because it's so incorrect and I'm weak. So guys, that is the incorrect form when doing a conventional deadlift. How we want to do an incorrect form for a deadlift is starting from the feet up, like I said, okay? Like I always go from the feet up, right? So, first of all, feet stance, shoulder width stance, okay? Toes slightly pointed out, okay? Come nice and low into the bar, okay? What we're gonna do, the focus on the deadlift is keeping the bar close to the shin as possible while keeping a neutral spine. What we really wanna do when getting into a deadlift, we really wanna push the floor apart, which is gonna activate our glutes and switch our core on, squeeze our core, keep a neutral spine, not too head up, not too far down, eyes forward. What we're gonna do as we pick up the bar, we wanna push our shoulder blades back. So bring your chest up, shoulder blades back. As we're in that position, we wanna push our feet into the ground and drive up at the same time. So I'd like to use it as an analogy, tear the floor apart and stand up tall exactly the same time. Let me demonstrate, okay? So, yeah. Chest up tall, tear the floor apart, stand up tall. Control. And that's how you do the proper way of a conventional deadlift. Moving on to A2 is a barbell squats. One of my favorite exercises to really work my lower body, especially through my quads, okay? As you guys see here with this, I'm gonna do an elevated barbell squat. The reason why I like elevated because I actually can stand up more upright when I'm getting into my squat, okay? And I feel like my form of technique just feels so much more better. So it's up to you. You guys can do elevated. You don't have to do elevated. It's up to you. Give it a go. Let me know what you think, right? Now, moving on to a barbell squat, okay? Now, what I see a lot of people do incorrectly is I'm gonna show the incorrect form with the barbell squat. Hand placements, right? What people do is, have you guys noticed when you guys are doing squats, right? You notice that your traps get quite sore because there's so much weight in the bar and there's so much pressure on the traps, right? And you probably realize, I need to put a towel, I need to wrap around a towel from this. Guys, that is incorrect. The reason why you're probably feeling pressure through your traps and you're feeling very uncomfortable holding that bar is because your hand placement is incorrect, okay? This is how you place your hands. Obviously, other people have different mobility issues if you can't get mobility issues, but what I say is have your hand placements as closest to shoulder width stance as possible, okay? Closest to your shoulder width can allow, okay? So what you guys want to do with this, you want to kind of create a cushion on your back so you don't actually feel the pressure from the bar, right? Let me explain. So hands closest to shoulder width as possible. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing a high bar squat. High bar squat, it's going to keep me more upright, it's going to put more pressure through the quads. I find doing a low bar squat is more pressure through my hamstrings as well as glutes. Today's focus is quads, so we're going to go into a high bar, okay? Hands closest to shoulder width stance, okay? What I want to do is have that middle piece just resting above my traps, okay? Nice and close. As I lift that up, okay? From here, I want to be able to have my elbows up. So having my elbows down, traps are turned off, elbows up, traps are turned on. which I don't really feel that bar much anymore, right? Because my traps are kind of creating a bit of a cushion. So when I do squat, I don't really feel the pressure and the tension through my traps, okay? So make sure you guys don't have your hands out too far wide, because you will feel the pressure through your traps and it will feel uncomfortable, okay? Also, so that's the incorrect hand placement, okay? Now the incorrect squat, okay? When squatting with a bar, okay? So this is how people do it, right? Hand placement like this, okay? Okay? What a lot of people do wrong, incorrectly, okay? Either their toes are pointed in, okay? And this is what's gonna happen. Yeah? So what people are doing is, their knees are caving in, number one. Number one, the reason why your knees are caving in is because you've got weak glutes. Number two, the reason why your knees are caving in because your toes are not spread apart. Remember, where your toes are pointed, that's the direction where your knee is going to travel, right? Toes are pointed in, your knees are going to travel in. Toes are pointed out, your knees are going to travel out. We don't want your knees to travel in, right? We want your knees to travel out. I'm not having you stand your feet too far wide out, but just slight wide out to get that direction and open up your really hip, right? That's what you guys want to be really doing, okay? So you guys don't want to do that, and also you don't want to drive your knees past your toe, okay? You really want to sit back onto the squat, okay? So that is an incorrect form, hand placement for the bar, and obviously the incorrect form with a squat. Now I'm going to be showing you how to really do the barbell squat, the high bar squat. Now the techniques I like to use with this squat is make sure you guys are tearing the floor apart. I like to utilize my glutes in a high bar squat, okay? People always ask me, Damien, how do you actually work your glutes a lot more when a squat? So this is how you do it, because you have to think about your glutes is such a big, strong muscle. If you're really utilizing your glutes in a squat, your technique, your strength's gonna go through the roof, okay? So what you guys wanna do is something called tearing the floor apart. Before I put the bar on my back, I'm gonna show you a bodyweight squat, okay? So simply, what I wanna be doing, right? I'm gonna have my hands, so always start from the ground up, right? Feet, shoulder stance, toes slightly pointed out. What I want to pretend I'm standing on a piece of paper. This is going to allow me to tear the floor apart, which can activate my glutes a lot more. So this is what it looks like, okay? So toes out, tear the floor apart, glutes are switched on. So if you guys do this right now, glutes are switched on. From here, I want to push your knees apart and tear the floor apart at exactly the same time. Tear the floor apart, push the floor apart, sit back into it and tear the floor apart. What that's doing for me, I'm really feeling my glutes activated, so I'm gonna get a lot more stronger through my squat. So make sure you guys are doing that, okay? Now, chucking a bar on my back, okay? This is how I'm gonna do bar placement with a high bar squat, okay? Shoulder with stance, closest to mobility as possible. Putting it, resting above the traps. Picking that bar up, okay? Placing your feet stance, elevated. Toes pointed slightly out. Now with my hand placement, my elbows are gonna be up, okay? By posting my elbows up, it's going to create a cushion, so I don't really feel that bar. Another little thing too, okay? When I'm squatting, I wanna push the bar down into my traps. It's gonna allow me to keep a neutral spine and go through the motion, okay? So what I'm gonna be doing here, toes slightly pointed apart. Remember, at exactly the same time, I wanna tear the floor apart and sit back onto the squat while tearing the floor apart, okay? So from here, also breathing in through the nose, holding that breath, breathing out. So guys, that's how you do the correct high bar barbell squat. Okay, moving on to B1, something called RDLs. This is Romanian deadlift. Prime focus muscles being worked in here is our hamstrings, as well as our glutes as being a hip hinge, right? So what we're gonna be doing, this is the incorrect, I'm gonna show you the incorrect form is on a Romanian deadlift, okay? So simply what people do is they pull the bar up, okay? And what they're doing is they round it through the back and they hyperextend in two. So you're hyperextending through the hips, which is gonna cause a lot of lower back pain and potentially injury, okay? And what they're doing is they curve spined it as well. We don't want that, right? Curve spined it, okay? That's the incorrect form of a Romanian deadlift. Now the correct form of a Romanian deadlift, we really want to focus on pushing our bum to the back of the room to get that nice stretch through our glutes and a nice contraction through our hamstrings, right? So simply grabbing the bar, come back, okay? Remember, from the ground up, feet stance. What we're gonna be doing here is keeping the bar closest to our shins as possible, pushing our bum back to the room, pausing below the knee, driving up, and really come into a nice glute contraction. Pushing the bum right back to the room, pausing just below the knee, keeping the bar next to the hips, and driving through. Also, my back, pinching my shoulders back and chest up as possible all times to keep that neutral spine. So guys, that's how you do the Romanian deadlift. Remember, key points, make sure your core is switched on, neutral spine, pinching the shoulders back, shoulder width stance, pushing the bum right back to the room, get a nice stretch through your hamstrings and glutes, and then meeting the bar and driving through. Do not hyperextend, just keep that neutral spine. So finish here, not here, yeah? Okay, moving on to B2 is a dumbbell glute bridge, okay? Main muscles worked on this is our glutes, okay? Before I put the dumbbell, before I put the weights on, I wanna make sure I go through the form and the technique. What I see a lot of people do incorrectly when doing the hip bridge is number one, the knees are in, and number two, they're hyperextending, right? That's what we don't want because you're gonna lose the tension through your glutes, okay? What we really wanna do, okay? We will make sure we've got 90 degrees between the hip joint, knee joint, and ankle joint. Too far out, right? Too far out is hamstrings. Too far close is more quadriceps. We don't want to work, we want to work our glutes, right? So having 90 degrees between your ankle, knee, and hip is going to be glutes, okay? From that position, we're going to push our hips up into the sky and squeeze in our glutes and getting mind to muscle connection at exactly same time. Coming low, driving up, yeah? So now I'm gonna put the weight on. This is easy to explain without the weight, okay? So just chucking a dumbbell for resistance, exactly the same thing. Shoulder width stance, core switched on, head back, driving the hips onto the sky, yeah? Hips down, hips up. Cool, so that's the dumbbell glute bridge. Also, you guys can use this with a barbell as well. You can have a barbell strapped to you instead of a dumbbell. I just find a dumbbell easier, more direct, a little more through the glutes. Also, you can have a barbell as well. Just make sure you guys are having 90 degrees, okay? 90 degrees, core switched on, chin tucked in, not too far back as well. Remember, neutral spine, chin tucked in, core switched on, driving up, and make sure you guys are drawing your glutes together to get a nice contraction. Moving on to the next exercise, C1 is a static dumbbell lunge, okay? Main muscle we're gonna be working here is our quadriceps, okay? Obviously you're doing a unilateral movement, which is great now and then. Make sure you guys are really trying to work from your left to your right. So obviously make sure you guys are balancing that out, okay? So, dumbbells in front of me, okay? Before I chuck the dumbbells on myself, okay? I wanna demonstrate them through a body weight, okay? How people do an incorrect lunge, it could be a walking lunge, it could be a static lunge, it could be a reverse lunge as well, is what I find a lot of people doing is when going into any type of lunge, their stance. They're either too far wide and they're doing these ones, which is still working your quads, but I feel like you're getting a bit more of a stretch. Or they're too far forward, okay? And that's still working quads, but that's what we don't want. How your stance should be is 90 degrees for your front leg and also 90 degrees for your back leg, okay? So let me explain, okay? So first of all, 90 degrees. So as if I have to go down into a movement, I'm getting 90 degrees here, and I'm also getting 90 degrees here, okay? That's how I want to be. 90 degrees through your front leg, 90 degrees through your back leg, so we know all the pressure and all the stresses are going through our front leg, but this is the main leg we're working today, right? Quad. Front foot forward is a leg, okay? That's the main muscle working for that quad, okay? Now, what else I don't want people to do incorrectly as well is when they're doing what they do, sometimes you see this, their knee comes forward. They do their knee comes forward, okay? Now that could be something called weak glutes, but I just feel like people just don't have the education of when you guys are doing a lunge, okay? Balance, core switched on, push your knee out. So how can you push your knee out? Instead of having your toe facing forward, like I said, you do this. Have your toes slightly pointed out. Same thing, push your knee out as you're going down into lunge, like this, ready? Yeah, so push your knee out, yeah, core switched on, push your knee out. Okay, let me just show you with the weight now. So this is what a weighted dumbbell static lunge is, okay? From here, pushing the weight out. Core switched on, eyes forward so you get that balance. Breathing in, breathing out, yeah? Really pushing that front foot. Cool. So that's, guys, as you do a dumbbell static lunge. Remember, push the knee out. Make sure where your toe is, that's where your knee travels as well. Make sure you guys got 90 degrees for your front foot, 90 degrees for your back foot, chest up tall, core switched on, and go from there. Moving on to C2 is a static standing calf raise. Working the calf muscles, these muscles right here, the muscles that I do have to build. These muscles are very, very important to be working through if you guys are in a different type of sport, so for performance, for speed, for power, but also to help stabilize the knee joint as well. Simply, I won't be using weight for this one as well. I just don't like to have weight. I like to go for anywhere between high reps. So I'll be doing anywhere between like 20 to 25 reps. I just like to get that volume into those calves, okay? Now, what I always see people do incorrectly when they're doing the calf raise is what happens is their knees go forward, okay? Knees go forward and they do these ones, right? That is fine, you're still working your calves, but you're actually putting a lot more pressure to the quads because you're in that bent position. Your quads are more stabilized. You're actually getting more of a quad workout than your calf workout. How you take the quads away is straighten up the knee, lock the knee joint, not lock, but just lock out the knee. Lock out the knee, straighten the knee. And then what you guys want to be doing is stand up tall. I like to hold it to something, kind of lean forward a bit and really drive up, okay? The reason why I'm also standing on toes elevated, so I can get more depth, more range of motion in the quad, more range of motion on the calf muscle, okay? So come up, come down. Also, if you guys can't really feel this calf, you actually can just go into like a 2-second hold up the top. So 1, 2, and then 2 seconds down. 1, 2, squeeze and cramp that muscle, 2 seconds, and control 2 seconds down. Come up, 1, 2, 2 second eccentric, okay? So guys, that is the calf raise. That's the calf raise. If you guys, like I said, you guys can't feel it, maybe hold a 2-second squeeze up the top, that minor muscle connection, and then follow with a 2-second eccentric. Okay, moving on to my next activity, D1, is I like to finish off my workouts with a core workout, okay? Just a few sets. Obviously, we know core is so important with performance throughout the whole gym and obviously with life as well. So you're gonna make sure you keep this big bad boy nice and switched on and nice and strong. One exercise I like to do and like to involve my core in is a straight leg raise, okay? I will explain. This one I was obviously working through our whole core, through our obliques. Definitely a great exercise to finish off with, and obviously to do some core activation as well before you work out, okay? So jumping on, so handy knee raise, yeah? So I like to grab a bar, okay? I like to grab a bar, hand onto a bar. What I like to do is bring my feet up. So this is the incorrect way of doing a handy knee raise. What people do is, number one, they cheat and they touch the floor, right? So they come up and they touch the floor. You don't want to do that. Nor you want to hyperextend, so bring your hips up. You don't want to do that, guys. Get too much momentum because you're really not putting the pressure through the core, okay? What you want to be doing here is grabbing a bar, coming up, okay? Toes pointing to the sky, centimeters off the floor, and then come up and stop there. Once you go past this point, your core switches off, okay? So you just want to go through here, 10 meters off the floor, really drive your belly button down into the ground at exactly the same time while you're coming up, okay? Sweet, so that's my little core, you can use that for stabilizing as well. So with the straight leg raises, you're gonna make sure, one, you do not touch the floor, and two, just don't go over the top, right? So you're gonna make sure you're centimeters off the floor, so don't let your feet touch the floor, and then you're coming up to a certain point where you go stop, okay? So guys, that is my leg workout done and dusted. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Remember, before you commence this workout, make sure you do your activation exercises as well, and make sure you guys' form and technique is correct when doing these exercises. If you find that your form and technique is incorrect, you're not doing the exercise correctly, or you feel uncomfortable, simply go to djcoaching.com.au, book yourself a free consultation, and we can have a chat. Apart from that, if you guys can show some love by liking and subscribing to this channel, it would be much appreciated. Also, if you guys got any videos in your mind that you guys are wanting for me to teach you about and learn and give you value about, please comment in the comment section and I will have a look at them. Apart from that, have a great day and I'll see you soon.